Nurses aide Rita Mays confessed to giving lethal doses of insulin to patients at the VA Medical Center in Clarksburg, West Virginia. Yeah, Stacy, the federal judge who sentenced Mays today called her a monster of the worst kind. Then, after the sentencing, we heard from the VA's inspector general, who says that medical center committed serious failures that allowed the killings to go on undetected.
Today's unfortunate story is about Rita Phyllis Mays. She's an American serial killer who murdered at least 7 elderly military veterans over a span of 11 months between July year 2017 and June year 2018 by injecting them with lethal doses of insulin while she was employed as a nursing assistant in Lewis A. Johnson's Veterans Medical Center in Clarksburg, West Virginia. On May 11th, year 2021, Mays was sentenced to 7 consecutive life sentences for the murders, plus 20 years for 1 count of assault with intent to commit murder. Rita Mays was born in Reynoldsville, West Virginia, in the year of 1975. She was a United States Army West Virginia National Guard veteran who served from November 2000 to April year 2001, and again from February 2003 to May 2004, when she deployed to Iraq and Kuwait with the 192nd Engineered Battalion. Prior to beginning her employment as a nursing assistant at the Louise A. Johnson Veterans Medical Center, Mays had worked as a corrections officer at the West Virginia Department of Corrections at North Central Regional Jail in Greenwood, West Virginia, between the years of 2005 and the year of 2012. In the year of 2013, Mays was one of several defendants in a lawsuit that was brought by an inmate incarcerated at the jail who alleged that he had been repeatedly beaten by Mays and other correction officers. The lawsuit was dismissed on summary judgment. Mays was a longtime member of Monroe Chapel United Methodist, a small church approximately 20 minutes outside of Clarksburg in Lost Creek. In June year 2015, Mays began working as a nursing assistant in the Lewis A. Johnson's Veterans Medical Center in Clarksburg, West Virginia, with no certification or license to care for patients. Nursing assistants at the VAMC are not qualified or authorized to administer any medication to patients, including insulin. Mays was assigned to work overnight shifts on Ward 3A of the hospital's medical surgical unit in July year 2017. When elderly patients began suffering mysterious acute drops in the blood sugar level. Over the course of 11 months, hospital staff eventually attributed the deaths of several patients on the ward to hypoglycemia. Many of the deaths were of individuals who were not insulin dependent. 4 of the deaths occurred within 16 days. One patient, Archie Edghill, an 84-year-old Korean War veteran, initially suffered a drop in his blood sugar to 24. A reading less than 70 is low and can be very harmful. He was stabilized by staff, only to die after another plummet of his blood sugar in a short time later. An autopsy later found that Edghill had been injected 4 times. The hospital began an internal investigation of 11 deaths. Mays was fired from the hospital in June year 2018, and the investigation was turned over to the Inspector General for the United States Department of Veteran Affairs and the Federal Bureau of Investigations. The investigation involved more than 300 interviews, the review of phone, social media, and computer records, the review of thousands of pages of medical records and charts, hours of consulting with forensic experts and endocrinologists, the exhumation of some of the bodies of those who were deemed to have died suspiciously, and the review of thousands of hospital staff and visitor records to assess their potential interactions with the deceased. A person of interest was officially identified in the autumn of year 2019. The person's name was not disclosed, but authorities later stated that Mays had been a person of interest from the beginning. In July year 2020, Mays was arrested and charged with the murders of 8 individuals. The charges were later reduced to 7 consecutive-degree murders and 1 count of attempt to commit murder involving the death of 92-year-old United States Navy veteran Russell R. Posey Jr., who died 2 weeks after he had been injected with the insulin. Prosecutors stated that there were approximately 20 suspicious deaths while Mays worked at the hospital, but charges were brought only for the cases that were believed to have sufficient evidence. On July 14th, year 2020, Mays pleaded guilty in the United States District Court for the Northern District of West Virginia in Clarksburg to 7 counts of second-degree murder and 1 count of attempted murder. By pleading guilty to all the charges, Mays waived the right to have the case presented to a grand jury. Mays wept openly in court and admitted that she had murdered the patients. Mays offered to motive, but complained and claimed to be taking medication for post-traumatic stress disorder. She was held in custody at the West Virginia Regional Jail and Correctional Facility until her sentencing. An interview with Mays after her guilty plea was included in a report released after the sentencing by the Department of Veterans Affairs Officer of Inspector General that detailed deficiencies at the hospital. In it, she stated she administered that insulin to patients that she believed were suffering so that they could pass away gently. She also stated that she had great stress and chaos in both her personal and professional life, and that her actions gave her a sense of control. On May 11th, year 2021, Mays was sentenced to 7 consecutive life sentences plus 20 years during a 3-hour-long hearing the United States District Court for the Northern District of West Virginia in Clarksburg by U.S. District Judge Thomas Clee. Mays is ineligible for parole. In July, year 2021, Mays was transferred to a low-security federal correctional institution, Aliceville in Alabama. U.S. District Judge Thomas Clee had initially recommended that Mays be placed at the Federal Medical Center, Carswell in Fort Worth, Texas, so that she could receive mental health treatment there. Since Mays' guilty pleas, the federal government has settled civil lawsuits with the families of 10 victims.